Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today we are talking about 8 hidden gem beat 'em up games. Now, these are more for the casual gamer, I would say. You know, a lot of people say, hey, hidden gems, what are you talking about? That's not a hidden gem. Hey, not everybody thinks like you. You know, some of these games are pretty much unknown. I'm doing the video, of course, again with Sar Morrow. Man, happy you're here. Now let's get right on to it.
So it's cool we're doing this again. So for my first game, of course, the PC Engine game, because I love the PC Engine, the first game we're going to talk about is Galaxy Deka Gayvan. So Galaxy Deka Gayvan on the PC Engine is a linear beat-em-up with really bright character designs, and it's interesting. It's pretty hard. There's quite a learning curve, but the cool thing is like these transformations that the characters get, they turn into like these like Power Ranger type things. They're like powered suits because I guess they're like space police or something. Once you get the motions down and the move sets of the characters, it starts to become a little easier and more fun to play. In my opinion, it's more of an acquired taste. The more you play it, the more you like it. And I really like this game. But for someone who's playing it for the first time, they might find it a little hard and difficult to get into because of its difficulty level. The game does have a couple little extras like this fighting game mode where you can play against your friend and pick some characters, including a couple random characters that you get to beat up on in the normal game. But after about 5 minutes or so, you'll probably get bored with this mode and go back to the regular game. In my opinion, the regular game is a lot of fun, especially if you play it with a friend. I think that's where you get the most enjoyment out of this game, is if you play it 2 players. If you find Galaxy Deka Gayvan in the wild, it might be worth picking up. I know I like it.
Alright guys, so the first game I want to talk about on this list is Puli Ruler. This is, as you can see, the PlayStation version. Also available for the Saturn and FM Towns Marty, or whatever that system's called. But that version's really rare, so if you have that one, holy grail. I played this game years ago when I was a kid, and I forgot what it was called over the years, and it wasn't until I saw Jimmy Hoppa's video about it that I remembered the game, and I immediately bought it after that. So basically, you play as Zack and Mel. Now, the characters pretty much look like Little Bo Peep, if you remember that when you were a kid. Very fairy tale land looking. Basically, if you want to know a little story in the game, these kids in their town, the bad guy's taking the key to time, so all time is like kind of messed up, and you're trying to retrieve the key back and everything. So you're going through different towns at first in the beginning of the game, and then by the 3rd level, the game gets pretty weird and hilarious, and so on until you just kind of get towards the end of the game again. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't want to explain too much about it, but it gets really weird. So first 2 levels, very normal, but at 3rd level, 4th, 5th, it gets kind of like, what the hell's going on here? But still a solid game. It's pretty much basic, though. There's just attack, jump attack, and then summons. Now, the summons work in different ways. Like, you got a level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5, you know, and different things come out. It feels like it's random, but, you know, depending on how you have it powered up, you'll get a different summon usually. The music in the game is pretty much just pretty basic, you know, kind of uppity in a way. Game controls pretty well. It is fun. I would kind of say this game is more of a beginner beat 'em up game. It's very easy, but also just really weird. But still, definitely a game I think you guys should have in a collection. A total hidden gem.
Alright, so for my next pick, we're going to take it back to the Famicom days with Kuniokun. It's a really long title. Let's just say Kuniokun in feudal Japan. Alright, so I guess for those of you out there who actually want to go look for the game, the name is called Downtown Special. Kuniokun no Jidai Geki da yo Zen in Shugo. Yeah, that's a lot of words. That's why I was just calling it Kuniokun in feudal Japan. But they're not really in feudal Japan. It's like a school play that they're doing, and they're just beating the crap out of each other in school, which is what you do in Japan. In any case, for those of you who are not familiar with the Kuniokun series, this is pretty much River City Ransom set in feudal Japan. So if you're familiar with River City Ransom, then you already know how to play this game pretty much. But it's pretty cool because the setting is different, the music is very Japanesey compared to the River City Ransom games, and I enjoy this series a lot. In my opinion, I think Technos Japan pretty much is the grandfather of beat 'em ups with this series, and this is just one of those that just never made it out of Japan because of how Japanesey it is. But I seriously recommend getting it if you have a Famicom and you can find this on the cheap. There is a more accessible way to play this game now. Thankfully, if you have a Nintendo Switch, you could buy Kuniokun The World, which is a collection of all the Kuniokun games, and this is one of the games that's included in that collection. So that's cool. This Kunio game is just a lot of fun, especially if you're playing it with a friend, and I highly recommend it if you're a fan of the series.
Alright guys, so next up we have Crysis Beat. Crysis Beat came out in 2000, and it's a shame this game didn't come out to America. I kind of see why it didn't, maybe because they probably didn't think it would sell well, because a lot of 3D beat 'em ups weren't being made at the time, and then the ones that did come out, I don't know if they really did really well. Like Fighting Force, I don't think it did well. It sold okay, but it was kind of panned in a way. But anyways, this is a 3D beat 'em up, and it's pretty amazing. It's fast paced. You're constantly moving around to different areas. It's really fun to play. So the story, it has a little story to it. Like basically, no one cares, but I do. A little terrorist on the ship, nuclear weapon or whatnot. I can't really think that's what it was. And you're trying to like survive as one of 4 characters. The game is 2 players at the same time, so you can drop in any time and join a friend. Fast-paced action, catchy music, even though the music kind of repeats itself over all the time. But it's just like what a beat 'em up should be. Fast-paced action. You're not staying in one area fighting too many enemies for a long time, because that gets boring. You're constantly moving to different areas, so you feel like you're actually flowing along the level, like it's like you're moving along. You're seeing different parts of the level. Very fun game, guys. I would say if you pick up Crysis Beat, it's definitely a game that you would want to add to your collection. It's a lot of fun. It's just, this is what a 3D beat 'em up should be.
Alright, for my next one, I gotta go back to the PC Engine with some Ane-san. Now, Ane-san for the PC Engine is a pretty unique beat 'em up, and we'll talk about why. So one of the things that makes Ane-san interesting is that it's an all-female beat 'em up game. But what makes it unique is its whole girl boss biker gang theme that it's got going for it. Otherwise known as the Bosozoku subculture in Japan, or Yankees. But long story short, you're this girl boss named Ai, who's being accompanied with 2 of her friends from childhood, and you basically go around the country beating up on other girls, trying to look for the original girl boss who went missing. The game plays pretty well if you're using Ai, but if you're using any of the other girls, some girls are much less playable than others. One of the cool things I like about this game is that you get to recruit some of the other girl bosses if you meet certain criteria, or buy certain items, which you can usually buy in a shop between stages. Another thing you can do in this game between stages is play something called the Ugly Face Grand Prix, which is a contest to see which girl can make the ugliest face. Pretty scary, right? There's also a cool bike riding minigame that you can play, and then when you go to the next stage you get to sleep, which shows like this really crazy like psychedelic image each time, displaying Ai's dreams, which is just weird. I think that people doing the visuals for this game were high or something. But one of my favorite features of this game that I really need to talk about is this game's soundtrack. It's got this awesome rockabilly soundtrack that is just awesome. And some of you might even recognize the music from this game. Anasan on the PC Engine is one of my favorite beat-em-ups for so many reasons, but this game is definitely shooting up in price, so if you see it decent anywhere, definitely grab it.
Alright, so next up we have a Hotblooded Family. This was actually a launch title for the PlayStation in Japan when it came out in '94. Now, due to Sony's policy about 2D games in America, they would not let this game come out to America. So I found out about this game by chance a few years ago, and I thought it was pretty amazing. But I want to tell people that if you pick up this game, if you have a Saturn, the Saturn version is probably slightly better than this one. This one has a little bit of slowdown. Well, not a little bit. It has a lot of slowdown, especially when you do like your special attacks. But still, definitely worth having the PlayStation version. It's still good. I like this game because like it's kind of unique in a way. So here's the thing, like you know how in beat 'em up games, like you knock over barrels, you get items to help you like replenish your health or get points with. Well, the game did this. So there's a certain situation where you could knock a barrel over and there's a beer on the ground. Now, depending on the character you're using, you can't pick up the beer and use it as health because they're underage, so it's for adults only. So only one of the characters could actually drink the beer in the game and replenish their health. The other kids, like are teenagers, they can't pick it up. So I thought that was pretty funny. They added that in. But it's a simplistic fighting beat 'em up game, I would say. Kind of like maybe like a step a little above Final Fight in a way. You know. The special moves are actually pretty cool, and the animations are well done for the game as well. Music-wise, it has some catchy tunes, probably by the third level, I would say. I think that had a catchy tune to it. Control-wise, with the slowdown a little bit, it could kind of mess things up, but it still feels comfortable, like you're really in control of your character. And it's a lot of fun. But I would say, honestly, if you want to get this game, definitely try to pick up the Saturn version over the PlayStation version, because that version, they just polished that one a little bit more. This game might have been rushed in a way. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it was rushed because they didn't know how to really utilize the PlayStation back then when it first came out. But anyways, Hotblooded Family, guys, definitely check this one out.
All right, and finally, we're going to talk about IkkiTousen Eloquent Fist for the PSP.
IkkiTousen Eloquent Fist.
IkkiTousen is a video game that's based on an anime by the same name, and is loosely based on female versions of Chinese warlords, or something like that. As soon as you get the game going, you've got a story mode and an arcade mode, and basically the story mode lets you play 3 different scenarios with different teams of people, and then the arcade mode is just straight beat 'em up style. Now, the story mode is really only interesting if you're into the story of the anime, otherwise you're probably just better off playing the arcade mode. The game does have a few pervy bits here or there, and there are some jiggle mechanics, but if you can get past that or it doesn't really bother you, there is a pretty fun beat-em-up game to be had here. The graphics are fairly nice, and as far as beat-em-ups go, it feels really satisfying to play with things like super moves and combos and all sorts of stuff. Not only does IkkiTousen have a ton of characters that you can play right off the bat, there are unlockable characters as well. Another good feature about this game is that your characters level up the more you play them. Even though this game is a beat 'em up, there are hundreds of characters on screen, and sometimes it just feels like I'm playing a Dynasty Warriors game, which is kind of ironic because this game has a lot of characters that are based on the same historical figures as that game did. The music in this game fits, but it isn't exactly memorable. I didn't find myself humming any of these tunes after I was done playing it. But mediocre music and jiggle physics aside, this game is a pretty decent game that might have slipped under the radar for a lot of people. If you have a PSP, it might not be a bad idea to pick it up. I certainly enjoy it.
Alright guys, the last game I want to show you guys is Panzer Bandit for the PlayStation. If you ever played Guardian Heroes for the Sega Saturn, you know what to expect with this game. I mean, this game is this is what a beat 'em up should be like. Pretty much, this is a 2D beat 'em up, and basically there's 2 planes. There's a front plane and there's the background plane you could jump into and fight enemies as well, so things don't get all confusing with this game. I don't know the story because the game is in full Japanese, but I'm sure there's a translation out there. But when you play this game, you're just going to be all about the action. It's just like really easy to get into, easy to learn combos like button combinations. Like there's your regular attack, I think there's your hard attack, and then there's like a special attack to do like certain special moves and everything. and you can actually mix them up in combinations. And by pressing down, and an attack button, you might do like an uppercut. You could do something else as well. It's just, I love how you could chain moves together in this game. The music is very catchy. The game is easy to look at. I love the sprites that they used in this game. I actually heard this game was supposed to be for the Sharp that Sharp computer thing. I forgot what it was called, but since that kind of went out of business or whatever, they ported it to PlayStation. But seriously, we will never get another game like Panzer Bandit. I'm telling you guys, definitely take a look at this one. Hopefully it's available on PSN or something like that. I know the regular game is a little bit more expensive now, but seriously, if you're a beat 'em up fan, you owe it to yourself to check this game out. Alright guys, so that wraps up another video. Hope you enjoyed it. I want to say, Sarmar, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate you doing this series with me. And we will have more of these ready in the future. Radical Reggie, and we will see you later.